Now, what we have here is based off of yesterday's performance. Now we got people starting to see the real Paul George. Paul George been a fraud. He been phony and fake. First of all, Paul George been running for years. He was in Indiana for about 6 or 7 years, and he ducked out of Indiana because of who? LeBron James. He was shook. LeBron James was beating down Paul George and the Pacers every single year. I mean, the year he got hurt, we're gonna exclude that. But Paul George has been getting beat down by LeBron James every year. And now this overrated fool ran to OKC. You see what he did? He is deceptive. He's a snake. He's deceptive because what he did is he's not an alpha male. So he can't run his own team. He can't be the main guy on a team. He can't be the #1 guy because he's not built like that. So what he did was run to Russell Westbrook, who is an alpha dog, who is an alpha male. Russell Westbrook can be the main guy. Russell Westbrook is not going to let you tell him what to do. He's going to tell you what to do. He's going to run the show. I'm not saying Russell Westbrook is right in that aspect, but at the end of the day, we respect alpha males, people that put the team in under their watch and they take control of the game and they take responsibility of the game also. Paul George will never ever take responsibility because he runs and ducks. So like I said, he ran to OKC and ducked behind Russell Westbrook. So while Russell Westbrook is taking all the heat, he gets to play in the shadows. So when he has a good game, boom, he gets praised. They big him up. When he has a bad game, boom, they point the finger to Russell Westbrook and he's over there quiet. He was over there for 2 years, silent, knowing the whole time that he was going to really make the move to go run to Kawhi Leonard. And now he's getting exposed for it. And I'm glad because you see what? The difference between Russell and Kawhi? People don't like Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook is the bad guy. But now, what you did with yourself, Paul George, you made yourself look stupid. And now I'm going to expose you because you ran from the bad guy, Russell Westbrook, the guy that's going to take all the blame, that's going to take all the heat and make you look good. And you ran to a guy that is a leader. Kawhi Leonard is a leader of his team, and he's a championship. He has a title. So when you run to somebody like that, you make yourself look foolish because now you're going to get exposed on all levels. When you don't play defense, you're going to get exposed. When you have a bad scoring night, you're going to get exposed because why? Kawhi Leonard is already a champion. Kawhi Leonard is going out there every night putting up 30-something points a game. What are you doing, Paul George? You're not playing good defense. You're not having any good offense. All you're doing is just talking. You're running your mouth. And shut up now because let's get back to it. The OKC series when they played the Utah Jazz. Paul George was not killing. Paul George was not killing. But Russell Westbrook was. He's the one that got them out of that Utah series. And when they went against Portland, that was the best one to show because it was proof. It was proof that you could put somebody in a situation like Paul George at 10 seconds left in the game. Now, let's see. I'm speaking to my basketball people, and I'm speaking to my people with common sense. So even if you don't play basketball, I hope that you have common sense. If there's 10 seconds on the clock, and I'm guarding you, and you way out by the three-point line, first of all, let's know our player, Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard is known for pulling way beyond the three-point line. As a fact. That's on record. We know that already. So if I'm Paul George and I'm supposed to be this fake lockdown defender, elite player, also an all-star player, I should know better with Damian Lillard and it's about 10 or 7 seconds on the clock. When the clock is getting down, 5, 4, I got to play up. What am I doing 10 feet off of Damian Lillard knowing that his range is like that? Where is he going in 4 seconds? He's not going to the basket. First of all, he's not going to the basket, and I'm an elite defender. I'm Paul George. So my gut instinct and common sense means I have to play up. But Paul George didn't do that. He let Damian Lillard drill him right in the face. We went home. Thunder lost. Russell Westbrook got shipped out. And Paul George did what he did. Ran to the phone and called up Kawhi Leonard and begged Kawhi Leonard to play on his team. Because that's what he did. He's a sucker. Paul George is a sucker. He ran to Kawhi Leonard for that help because he can never stand in there by himself. He can never be the main man. He can never be that go-to guy. He'll always be a second or third option on the team. Hardly even a second, but he'll definitely be second or third option because he cannot be your go-to guy. You cannot count on Paul George in the clutch. He does not deliver. And he's finally getting exposed on a national level in this bubble, without the fans, without all the hearsay, without the talk. He's getting exposed by a 19-year-old kid who was putting the beats on all of those Clippers defenders. First of all, you the Clippers, you got two of the most elite defenders in the NBA. So you say Paul George is an elite defender. Why wouldn't you put Paul George straight up on Luka Doncic? I'm asking a question. Why wouldn't you put Paul George straight up on Luka Doncic in the final closing games of a matchup for a playoff matchup? Why wouldn't you guard him? You're an elite defender, so why are you not accepting that challenge? Because you shook. You're a bum. You're scared. Kawhi Leonard, I got questions for him too. He should be guarding Luka too. I'm not saying a pick is not going to happen. You may have to fight over the pick, but guard him. You guys are elite defenders, so why wouldn't you guard that man? Why would you have some buster like Reggie Jackson who's garbage? Reggie Jackson's a pure bum. He ran from OKC too. He couldn't wait to get out. He couldn't hold Russell Westbrook's jock strap, period. He's not even in the same caliber as Russell Westbrook. So it's insulting for me to even mention Reggie Jackson right now. We're going to stick to Paul George, the bum, because he's getting exposed. So not only can not Paul George guard up and say, you know what, I'm having a bad game, but you know what, I'm a good defender, so let me guard Luka Doncic since he's killing me all game. He ain't going to guard up. But what does he do? What does he do? He has terrible games. The last 3 games in this playoff series, he shot like 2 for 12, 3 for 13, 4 for 20. Like, he had terrible shooting games. Terrible. And now what he's going to try to do is fake bounce back, try to have a little good game and hide behind Kawhi Leonard, hide behind Montrezl Harrell, hide behind Lou Williams, who's actually really putting in work. Let's talk about that. But we're not going to get into that right now. Lou Williams actually really putting in that Triller. He ain't shook, I bet you he out there. But Paul George is shook. You scared. Guard up, Paul George, and stop running your mouth. You're overrated. You're somebody who I should have been got on already. I should have been got at you, but I let you rock because you like to hide. You're a snake. You slither around the garden. You slither around the garden, then you wait to attack. You're not straight up about it. You're not bold with it. Russell Westbrook is a dog. Damian Lillard is a dog. I said what I said about Damian Lillard, but at the end of the day, he ain't shook. That's the difference between the Russell Westbrooks, Damian Lillards, and then you got the bum Paul George. Paul George will run for the rest of his life. All he does is run all over the league and try to get with somebody, trying to get on a good team. You notice he didn't want to play with LeBron. Why? Because that's way too much pressure for him. He can't handle that. But he can handle playing behind Kawhi Leonard, playing behind a stacked Clippers team. Paul George, you are a bum.